A long, long time ago, in a galaxy far away, but don't concern yourself with that. Jin, Cassian, and Bodhi Rook joined Baze Malbus and Chirrut to give the Empire's forces a setback. The holy city burned on Jeddah, planet scarab soldiers scattered. Can we escape from that blast? Transmit these Death Star plans. Red and gold squadrons on the scene, with star destroyers in between. K2SO had the best death scene in a story called Rogue One. Hey everybody, you're at home with a geek. I'm Mark, aka the little black dude. No, that's not racist. Welcome to my Rogue One impressions video. Now this is an impressions video, so no spoilers. If you want a spoilers review, please let me know in the down low. Here's my short review. It was good, but don't believe the hype. My long review? We have the first Star Wars side story in my memory that was shown in theaters. A movie that was hyped for the better part of a year, coming out nearly on the heels of Episode 7. Another good movie, but not as good as we wanted. Expectations were formed, theories were proposed, and everyone wanted an epic movie about awesome characters that were, responsible for Episode 4's awesomeness being a thing, continuity-wise. Don't get me wrong, I liked the movie, but I'm sure I liked it for reasons other people don't. I'm also a little lost on a few things. Let's start with what I enjoyed. The characters. They were varying levels of complex. Having variations in your protagonist, supporting cast, and antagonists allows viewers to choose people they like and identify with during the course of a movie. This breeds discussion and gives each viewer a memorable and a unique experience. For me, the entire movie was carried by K2SO. Couldn't get enough of him. He was like a less terrified C-3PO, who made it his business not to give a crap about biological life forms. Those of you who know me would think I'd love Chirrut Imwe most, as he's played by Donnie Yen. Yip Man himself played a wonderful role, but I found him lacking. Aside from a few very interesting scenes, he basically does next to nothing. Cassian Andor, Jyn Erso, and Baze Malbus were all equal in my eyes. None shone brighter than the others, and they were all suited to their roles. Not to mention Baze Malbus just kinda sat there for me. Didn't really impress me at all. However, the villains make any movie. Seeing CGI'd Grand Moff Tarkin was pretty awesome, but I didn't have the issues that some of the other reviewers had. I felt the CG recreation was convincing enough to remind me that this was a lead-in story to Star Wars that was filmed in 1977, and this route was an excellent way to keep the flow. I felt the same about Leia too. I wish I had more to say about them, but there wasn't much else. Our main villain, Orson Krennic, seems to be the inspiration, retroactively, for the First Order General in Episode 7, who a friend of mine calls Ginger Hitler, as the two characters have some parallels in costume and demeanor, though thankfully not in delivery. Krennic's calculating mannerisms make him just evil enough to be interesting. Some of the orders he gives throughout the movie illustrate this beautifully. Darth Vader. Enough said, moving on. The light side of the Force will always have a dark side, even though there was only one Force user in this movie, and the dragging of the early plot is lodged squarely in the middle of it. I gave this movie some leeway, as it isn't Episode 8. The quality of the visuals and action scenes really saved this movie from harsher criticism. There's so much that's done well and done right in the last half of the movie. Sadly, I only noticed it in contrast to the first half throwing exposition at me. And not really great exposition either. There's a lot left to be desired, since all our main characters are essentially thrown at the audience with little to no explanation. We have a tense scene between Jyn and Saw Gerrera. It would have been more impactful if we had gotten so much as a flashback of Saw raising Jyn. What we get is a rushed exposition to show the tension. We know next to nothing definite about any characters, since none of them talk to each other about anything but, hey, the Empire's making a super weapon. Let's go do something about it as a ragtag band of misfits with unclear backstories and good hearts. Baze and Chirrut take turns expositing each other. You know, if there isn't an action scene involved. The first half almost filibusters, taking up time before kicking you in various regions with action. Before seeing this movie, I was told the on-screen battle scenes were intense. I didn't believe it. I should have. The combat had my attention. What amazed me most was the frankly anti-Michael Bay approach to combat. Things exploded for a reason other than to look awesome. Every time you see something blow up in this movie, it's because something important is happening. Explosions drive the plot like Luke's T-16 after Womp Rats. There is so much death. But the characters that die have meaningful deaths. Each time someone dies, it's at a crucial point in the battle. You don't see that as much these days. Usually the meaningful death is phoned in. I believe all the phones were turned off, stabbed through the heart, and thrown into an incinerator before each death scene to avoid phoning it in. K2SO has the best death scene in the movie, if you ask me. But the death scenes all were worth the wait. Finally, the ending is partially satisfying. I had a similar feeling with Episode 3, as both movies, their ends are essentially the beginning of Episode 4. So they're really just tidying up before the beginning of Star Wars. There's no edge-of-the-seat situation happening. There's no, Lordy, what happens next feeling for us, since most humans have seen Star Wars by now. Lacking the suspense, there's no real payoff when the credits roll. Its story now told, Rogue One ends with a bang, but there's a little too much silence in a way after the conclusion. Being the son of a teacher, I have to grade this movie. I grade this movie an A-. It hit the right notes for a Star Wars story, but lacking the iconic nature of the mainline movies, the text crawl, the Jedi and the Sith taking center stage, but including some cameos. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. But it took some of the wind out of the sails for me. However, it was genuinely enjoyable to watch, and I recommend you take time to watch it. Me, I'm looking forward to Episode 8, and Rogue One made that wait more bearable. If you have any suggestions for movies that I should check out, please leave them in the down low. Let me know what's on your mind. Please feel free to subscribe, make sure you comment, and let other people know what you've seen here.